Hello Bloodborne fans and welcome back to another episode of Methodical Gamer. Today we're taking a look at the Holy Moonlight Sword. This has got to be one of my favorite trademark weapons by FromSoft. Dates all the way back from Kingsfield, went through Demon Souls, Dark Souls, and with the Old Hunter DLC, it's finally made its way into Bloodborne. Let's not waste any time, so with this weapon you will need 16 Strength, 12 Skill, and 14 Arcane to wield. At plus 10 this weapon scales with a B in Strength, a C in Skill, and an A in Arcane. Some of the questions I want to answer in this video are some of the big ones people are asking about this weapon, like where do I need to allocate my stats to have the highest DPS with this weapon? Or is this weapon even considered a top tier viable weapon in PvP? As you saw from the first clip, you can see my allocation of stat points went mainly into Arcane. I definitely hit the hard cap of 40 with this build. You may have already noticed some of the Arcane tools I'm using with this build, like the new DLC Black Sky Eye. I'm also using Call from Beyond and Old Hunter Bone. So besides the fact of just scaling your character with Arcane, you will also need to be scaling your weapon with Arcane Blood Gems. So the next question I want to answer, and this leads me pretty well into my next topic, why Arcane? Why not scale this weapon with Strength and Skill? I mean, the scaling's honestly not that bad. A lot of debating has been going on whether in the Moonlight state, if this weapon deals pure Arcane or pure Physical. I've done the stat testing, and it does do both Physical and Arcane when in the Moonlight state. But the beams that shoot out of the sword with the R2 and the R2 charge fare a lot better with DPS when you're scaling with Arcane. And the reason I said before this takes me pretty well into my next topic is because this leads me right into how to use this weapon and my tips for using this in PvP. I bet when you started the video and you saw the AR for this weapon you thought, this weapon falls right in the middle tier. And then when you saw the actual R1s coming out of this weapon, you thought, okay, this weapon, there's nothing special about it. Well, you're right. There is nothing special about the R1s to this weapon. So the thing I want to talk about is how to use this weapon. You want to capitalize on the R2s, the L2s, and the R2 charged. That's how you're going to deal all the damage in PvP to winning your fights. In Bloodborne, every time you initiate an attack that shoots a beam from the Holy Moonlight Sword, you are using up one QS bullet. Now, I like this personally a lot more than destroying your weapon in the previous Souls games. Bearing this in mind, every time you use a beam strike from the Holy Moonlight Sword, you are now competing with your gun and your Arcane tools if you so choose to use them. For me, that is why I chose a left-hand weapon that is not capable of parrying an opponent. That way I limit my use of my gun, except for when I absolutely need it. And the Arcane you will see me using most in this video is the Black Sky Eye because it also uses only one QS bullet. So now that we have a better understanding of how to deal out the best possible damage in PvP, let's talk about when to initiate these strikes, because I believe this is the most difficult part of mastering this weapon. Compared to Dark Souls, Bloodborne is a much faster paced game. Now this is something that we already know, and this is something that I don't need to explain in much detail to anyone. This game rewards players on combos, this game rewards players on dashing and playing quicker, this game rewards you on having a faster weapon. So when you are using a weapon like the Holy Moonlight Sword that is slower, you need to understand this when playing. You have to understand when fighting a Soul Cleaver, they're going to beat you to the punch every time. But simply knowing this fact and knowing how to counteract it is the key to winning. I encourage you to go back and rewatch this video and see when it is exactly I'm attacking my opponents. I'm starting up my attack at the end of their dashes. That way my beam is catching them as soon as they're coming out of their high frames, and they're going to catch the full blow of the damage. And that is how you play with the Holy Moonlight Sword. That's how you play with any slow weapon in Bloodborne. You can't beat them to the draw with the R1, but you can always beat them when they're coming out of their dashes, and that's what these weapons are made for. Do I count this weapon to be in the top 5 top tier weapons of Bloodborne? No, I do not. But in knowing this, I have beaten opponents with weapons in a higher tier ranking, simply because I knew the timing of this weapon. I hope this video helps you with your build and you have just as much fun as I did with this weapon. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, remember to play smart and keep on winning.